We have some time for some questions.
I'm wondering when the shyness pivoted, because clearly it's not there anymore.
Oh, no, it's still here. Oh, absolutely. What I had to learn to do, what I had to learn to do was to see it and treat it like a light switch. Yeah. And so I turn on the light switch when I need to turn it on, and when I'm done, I turn it off. So, no, I'm still absolutely, and from time to time, someone will notice I am a very shy person. But because I have a public persona, people think that I'm a very public person. I have to be a public person because somehow people have continued to put the mic in my hand and put a camera in front of me and ask me to speak. And so I had to learn to do it because I have a body, and this is the price you pay for like getting a human body and having the opportunity to be in community. So no, when we're done here, trust and believe. I will go home, put the pajamas back on. This is a switch. I end up having to speak publicly all the time, and so I got one of my undergraduate degrees in public speaking because it was like, this is terrifying to me. This right here, right now, I'm shaking. This right here. And so for like 15 years, I ran this poetry set in Denver called Cafe Nuba. And every now and then someone would get up, and it was their first time they were reading, and the mic would be like, here's the mic. And the paper, they'd be reading from the paper, and it would be going like this. And I would be like, better you than me! It was like, I'm the curator. It's like, you do that. But yeah, I can relate to it, because the paper still rattles. Yeah.
What is the curator's relationship with the artist? Like, how do you pick the artist? How do you talk with them? Like, what's that process?
I've curated lots of different kinds of art experiences, film festivals, poetry readings, book readings, and visual art and performance art. It's steward. It's steward. The artist already came in here with, they knew what they wanted to do. You know, you just kind of, we give each other permission, you know, to like say, well, go ahead and let the paper rattle. Let it rattle, because it's rattling for me too. It's like, I don't know. But that's how I see myself, as just steward around it. Sometimes we get to co-create it. But often, you know, as some people say, those who can't teach, often I think, you know, do I want to paint? Do I want to dance? You know, do I want to be the artist? So I think what's happening is that there's also this living through the artist as well. I believe that curators also live through the work of the person that they're supporting. That's how it feels for me.
When you have so much curiosity and so many ideas, how do you focus and choose which ones to follow?
How do I choose? Well, it depends on the day sometimes, I think. Again, it's like there are things that you need. I need clean underwear. And if I need to make sure that that happens, if I can't get that done, then I have to make some choices on whether or not I can be at that event or whatever. I do what makes me happy. I do what makes me happy. So if it makes me happy and I feel like I can do it, then I do it. But it has a lot to do with what the body will allow me to do as well. Because I've had the experience of trying to continue to give from empty, and it shut my body down. So I've had the experience of living in the hospital for weeks. I've had the experience of being humbled by the fragility of the flesh. I've had the opportunity to be gifted by my community, who healed me, who showed up, and our use of technology for that. But that had a lot to do with me. I kept saying yes. I kept saying yes to everyone. So like I said, it lends itself, this curiosity, to addictive behavior. And if there is anything that I have been called on more than one occasion by more than one partner of mine and by both of my sons, it is a workaholic. And I don't hold that up as a badge of honor. It's an inquiry where I'm trying to save myself and trying to figure out, how do I select what works for my happiness and what I can actually do.
Ashara, I consider you an expert in community building because you have co-created and birthed so many exquisite communities. And given what's happening in Oakland, what's a question that those of us living here can wrestle with about crafting a community that cares for the widest array of folks here?
Zone 00. None of us get to be free until we unravel our own kind of fear, guilt, and shame trinity going on. You know, the question is, what is going to be needed for our children and our great-grandchildren to be able to like live harmoniously on this planet? And as we start to, and I hope that we continue to go deeper as we start to unravel this myth that we are not connected and actually dependent upon one another, as we begin to remember ourselves together. You know, I know that we have the capacity to do that, to actually check the environment. We're looking at the garden, right? And so you move out from zone 00 to zone 0 to zone 1 to zone 2, all the way out to zone 4. What are the things that need to be dealt with immediately, right now, closest to your heart? What is the next step that you can do? Like, okay, are the herbs growing in the window, and then the collard greens are growing in the dirt? When I look at this community here in Denver, wow. I lived there for 29 years. In Oakland, when I look at where we're located right now, and who lives to the left, who lives to the right, who lives up behind this building, these unsheltered humans. This is a really sad and scary situation, and I know that easily could be any of us. Any of us. Definitely could be me. So we get to unpack that in ourselves first, and then there has to be, and there is here, radical, direct action around that. So what is your opportunity to allow yourself to step into the radical disruption of this uncaring? Us like walking by and looking away. Like, don't look away. Don't look away. I mean, do your work and take care of you and handle your business, but don't look away. You know? It's a good question. I hope we all grapple with it, at least for the rest of the day.
When you hear about celebrating, promoting the work of artists in the curator role, you speak to taking on the responsibility of rejecting, or at minimum, not accepting to promote the work of a creative. Can you talk about your own experience with rejection?
Deciding not to accept or promote the work of a creative, of an artist, has more to do with how much time you have for the show, for the exhibition, for me. So at Impact Hub Oakland, I've been curating the building as OMI Gallery for the last 4 years, and we've shown a lot of artists who have never shown before, have never had the experience or worked with a curator or a gallery at all. There have been people who have wanted to show, who I couldn't show, just based on the capacity of, this is part of my job as the chief creative officer of this company that I co-founded. I can't spend all of my time doing it, so some of it is just, how much time do you have to do it? And then the other piece is, what's the focus and the feature of your space, of your venue? So I've had, the opportunity to show all Bay Area artists over the last 4 years. Like, everyone who we showed at Impact Hub Oakland lived in the Bay Area in some place here. We did not show people who didn't live here, but we showed people across race and culture and ethnicity, gender, identification. And now I'm making a decision to move from a wide palette to a deep palette and say, let's come full circle here. Whose voices do not have place in society? So for me, it has more to do with what is the voice that I'm trying to understand myself, zone 00. What is the opportunity that I have with the relative privilege that I have to pay rent in a gallery in Uptown because I have a consulting company, not because I have a co-working company, but because I have the opportunity to live as a consultant and a curator on a national level.
Any stories about saying no?
I have a problem with it. I have a problem saying no. I think that's part of the problem of being curious, as we problematize it. But what I am is clear and courageous. And so I've learned to say no, and I get to say no. And giving each other permission as activists and organizers, we have to learn to say no and invite each other and celebrate the no. We have to celebrate the no, or I won't be here. I won't be here. I'll be, not sucking air anymore, and that's okay too. But I have a few more things. I'd like to hang out with my granddaughters a few more years. I'd like to, be with my lover a few more years. I'd like to be here with you all, make art every day.
So you mentioned your new gallery. Can you tell us where it is and when it opens?
Yeah, so Ashara Ekundayo Gallery is at 480 23rd Street. So from where we are, literally standing right now, if that building across the street weren't there, you could see the gallery. So I actually parked my car there and walked over and froze all the way across the street. So yeah, Ashara Ekundayo Gallery, the journey to that was quick. It wasn't part of the plan for me, and so this gift of having, being offered a space, and then looking and inquiring in myself, my fear, really checking into why I felt scared about calling it Ashara Ekundayo Gallery and not calling it Omi Gallery and moving it around the block, or calling it something else. And I got to see myself. I got to witness myself and my insecurity. I got to witness what does it mean when you put your name on it differently and then you say, I'm only showing Black girls' art. I'm only showing Black girls' art because I can. Because it's my space. So it opens next Friday, on First Friday, March 2nd. And if you'd like to come over on Thursday evening, we're having ceremony because we need ceremony. So there'll be some family and friends, and we'll be out in the courtyard and on the sidewalk, and there'll be music and there'll be a little food. So that's Thursday, March 1st from 6 to 9. Or romp about as we do for Art Murmur on last Friday of the month, March 2nd from 7 to 10. And so you can find all of that on the website. It's ashara.io, ashara.io. And then you can follow me on Instagram, and we've been putting up things from time to time. Also, this Sunday, we have a pop-up. So before we even open, we're popping up at the Black Joy Parade. Anybody going to the Black Joy Parade? I heard you announcing it, and I was like, did anybody not know that there's a Black Joy Parade? I hope that you did find out that this is like for everybody. Did you all know Black Joy is for everybody? It's for everybody. Black Joy is for everybody. Everyone gets celebrated. Everyone. So we'll have a pop-up with live art and a DJ and some cocktails and some live jazz. So it'll be at the corner of 20th and Franklin. Please come and hang out at Ashara Ekundayo pop-up gallery at the Black Joy Parade. And we're gonna have a good time. There's a lot of heaters in the tent because I'm like, there'll be plenty of heat. Heat, jazz, cocktails, and art. That's how we're getting it in. Join us, 20th and Franklin, from 1 to 6.
Along the lines of a few things that you said, acknowledging, one, I'm white, female, work in tech, and I also acknowledge that there's a lot of cultural shift in Oakland, and I'm wondering if you have any suggestions around how to best support the Black community better. I find that there's some kind of, there's a lot of tension around, there's a change in the culture here, and I'm wondering if you have some ideas around that.
That's a really broad question. And so you're speaking from your own experience, identifying yourself. Are you asking how you can do that?
How me and perhaps others are also doing.
That's always an awkward question. I think it's personal for each person in terms of what you feel is support, and what it means to support the Black community, because what we need to do is learn to support ourselves and our community, and honoring the voices and the stories and the history of Black folk and African people and people of the African diaspora in Oakland and throughout the Bay Area is important, because there's clearly a situation that is not new, but is being more amplified because of our use of media and social media in terms of disrespect, murder, total just annihilation, I think, of what should be our understanding that we are here in this together, breathing the same air. So I invite you to start to unpack how race and racism live culturally, institutionally, and personally in our lives, in our society, but in your life. It's this back to how does it impact me? How am I harmed by this relationship to race, racism, and white supremacy in culture in the United States and throughout the world? How does anti-Blackness show up in my life, in me? Unconscious and conscious. What are the things that I do? How do I relate to people? How do I work in my community, in my business, at home? How do I speak to my children around what it means to not have the norm be one that is reflective of the diversity of our community? And so it's not about being an ally, it's about being an accomplice. How do you accomplice? And how do you steward this for yourself? And so there's a group of us, a group of artists, creatives, who have been working for the last 4 years with a group in New Orleans called the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, in supporting the Undoing Racism trainings that happen here in Oakland. So we're called the Oakland Anti-Racism Organizing Committee, and created from a group of choreographers and dancers and writers, and myself, the gallerist, where we were looking at how does race and racism show up in our arts community, in our creative community. As an example, if you're in an African dance class at the Malonga Center, and it's not your culture, but you feel like you should be in the front line because you're married to the master drummer. Come on. It's like, whose culture is this? And where is your place in it? And with love and respect, how do you unpack why do you feel like you need to be in the front line because you're married to the master drummer from Guinea, but this is not your culture? So I'm saying that the choreographers and the dancers said, we're gonna start to unpack racism inside the arts community. So where do you live? Where is your garden? My garden is that of the creative. So we start from there. Where do you start from?
Please help me give a warm round of applause. Thank you so much. It was a beautiful.